Welcome, everyone. It is fantastic to see you all here. Wow, we got a lot of people watching. Today is a wonderful day for Attract Mode. It's our wonderful Attract Mode day, where you get to show off some of the wonderful people in our community doing some of the coolest things that I am still jealous of. Everyone comes over, and everyone's so cool. And I point at a blackboard. That's all I do. And everyone else is doing all this cool stuff now. Oh. But thankfully you get to see all of it. How cool is that? Very fortunate that I got put on hosting for this one, as we're on our shmup grind again. We're so back. Today we're going to be checking out Crimzon Clover World Explosion, a game that I do not have much experience with, actually. For once. This is one of the few ones I haven't really gotten around to, which is a shame. Because for what I've seen of it, it is beautiful. It's beautiful. It is nothing but a spectacle game, which I'm so here for. And for that, we have our wonderful player here. If you would like to potentially introduce yourself, come say hi.
Hello. Hi.
Wow, that's so cool. Tell us about yourself.
Hi, I'm Raelcun. I go by they, them pronouns. I joined the Late Arcaders server, I don't know, like two months ago. And I was talking excitedly about shmups, and someone was like, you should do Attract Mode. You should do Attract Mode.
Yeah! Join us!
One of us. One of us.
One of us. One of us.
But this is my favorite shmup of all time. It's great, and I am super excited to just talk about this game at all of you. And we're also joined by someone else.
Yes, we are. Would you like to introduce yourself as well, perhaps?
Hey, my name is Alara, and I've never played a shmup before, other than the one time I tried to play Ikaruga and failed miserably.
It's okay. We'll get you. Eventually.
There's a lot of different shmups, and I feel like sometimes you just start with the wrong one. Like, I very much enjoy a very particular flavor of shmup, so... but yeah, basically, what the plan is today is, it says showcase and speedrun practice. I want to talk about this game. I want to explain it to y'all. We're going to talk about the mechanics, how it works, hopefully give you the visual understanding of what's going on, because like Rena said, this game is very busy. But once you have an idea of what you're looking at, I then want to talk about like how you practice with a shmup, because I personally believe that shmups and speedruns are very, very similar in practice patterns. So I'm going to go over practice and how you approach it. The goal is that a lot of people see games like this and they're like, I could never do that. And then I watch them go and I speedrun a really difficult game, and it's like, no, you absolutely could play a shmup. These are very similar things. So I just want to make the whole thing a little bit more approachable, and then if we've got time at the end, we'll just do a run and let you all sit back and watch the pretty explosions.
Absolutely. I'm very excited. I'm locked in. I'm ready to learn this game, because this is one of the few games I just never learned for no reason, because it seems like my jam. I don't know what happened. Quite frankly, I dropped the ball, but I'm here to pick it up.
Yeah,
Look,
so
I'm seeing the splash screen, and I see lots of pretty colors. That's enough to sell me on it.
Oh yeah, this art is gorgeous, by the way. I love this game. The soundtrack is amazing. There's a novice mode. We're going to start in the novice mode, actually, because I want to be able to explain some of the stuff that's on screen. And in novice mode, there'll be way less bullets and distractions going on. So I want to just open up here by going to novice mode. This is a little bit different from Arrange, which is the main way that I like to play this game. And we'll talk about just like the very basics, and we'll get into it. And then Rena and Alara are here to like ask questions. If you have questions in chat, feel free to voice them as well, and we can pass those along. But the goal is just I'm gonna share this game. I love this game. I want to share it with all of you. So this is, the classic shmup story of there is no lore. You are a single fighter that launches from an aircraft carrier. Go. And I love that energy. So one of the first things is, on the screen, there's a lot going on. So we've got the high score, the score, there's the break rate in the top right corner. That's really important. The break rate is just a multiplier, a straight multiplier. As you build it up, you get more points. It says ×1, and that might not get across the feeling of how large this number gets.
Oh.
So in arrange mode, my personal best is 19 trillion with a T, because you can get this break rate multiplier upwards of 80,000 in that mode. So as you pick up scoring items, which if I back up and you see these little stars, these are the basic scoring items. You get a little bit of break rate and you build that meter below it. So you see that meter that's building up. Once it hits that marker, you can bomb. But if it goes full, you enter break mode instead. And there's a lot of other things you can do, because we're going to switch out of this real quick and we're going to talk about the play screen. So we go over here and we're going to toggle that on, and OBS is going to think about it for a second, and then it should appear any moment now. Hello, OBS. There we go. So this is the play screen when there's a lot of stuff going on. It's like, oh my God, there's so much things. But one of the things to note, and this is true in most shmups, is the game is rendering more than what you see right now. It's rendering about this much. And that means at the top of the screen, enemies are on the play field and they're physical objects before you can see them. And on the right and the left hand side of the screen, over here and over here, because I can draw on the screen, when you move to the left and you're in this area, the whole background will pan to the left. And then when you move to the right and you're in this area, then the whole background will pan to the right. And it gives more of a sense of like having more freedom in your environment, but it means that when you have enemies up here, you can be at the top of the screen and you can shoot them. Oops, we're gonna go back into the game and just point blank for a little bit. And when they're up here, you're still hitting them, but they're not taking damage yet. You can be getting score items, you can be charging up your break mode. There's a lot of value to shooting enemies that are at the top of the screen, but it's very dangerous, because you have very little time to react to it. And that's one of the core components of trying to score highly on shmups, is camp the top of the screen when you feel safe, and you can get more value out of your scoring. It'll charge up your meter. There's a lot of really good things that happen by doing that. You'll see me doing that later on. The other very basic mechanic is break mode. So if I hit the break button again, instead of getting a bomb, since it's full, we're going to transform. And this entire time we're transforming, you see that we got this shield around us. We're completely invulnerable, and once we come out of this transformation, you'll see that our shots are purple. Hang on, let's do that so you can see better. So we've got the upgraded shots, they're coming out, our options on the side, they've got more damage going on. And then in this game in particular, there's 2 levels of this mode. I don't think I charged up well enough, where if I filled up that gauge again, I could enter double break mode, and then I'd get some more options, get more damage, and the break rate in the top corner over here, this goes up faster when you're in break mode, and even faster than that when you're in double break mode. So a lot of this game goes by trying to enter break mode, stay in break mode, and then you want to just charge up the break rate, get more points that way. But there's one other really big mechanic, and I haven't really been talking about it, and it's when let's try and catch this, there we go. When you hold the lock-on button, you see there's a sphere around the ship, and it expands outwards as you hold it. So when you first tap the button, you'll get a circle about this big, and if you hold it, then it'll continue outwards, and then you get about this big. And any enemy that enters this kind of sphere around your ship tries to lock on these lasers, and it takes into account the health of the ship, and it'll lock shots onto the ship until it's enough to kill it. Then it'll seek out a new target, continue locking shots. And this gauge down here on the bottom is where you'll see the lock appearing and filling up the gauge. So if I let that happen here, I hold this button, you'll see enemies are going to appear on screen, and they get these little reticles on them, and the bottom of the screen down here, it's showing you how many lock shots you have. And if I let go, they fire out a bunch, and you get this second multiplier down here in the green times 2.4, and there's a second number under it, which is your timer. So if I unpause, you'll see that timer counts down, and then you lose that green number once it's counted down. But when you charge up all the way, you get a bigger green number. So you want to have that green number as high as you can, and you want to make sure that this timer isn't running out. So the basic ways to get your timer to keep from running out are killing enemies, using lock shots to kill enemies, and also deleting bullets, which is a classic in shmups. It depends on the games on how you delete bullets, but this enemy here that's about to pop up, when it dies, will delete all the bullets on screen. So we let a couple appear there, and we kill it, you see they all went away. So if we had that timer, the lock multiplier going, deleting bullets on the screen by killing that enemy there would add to the timer, let us extend it a little bit further. And those are like the really basic systems we're working with. And just like in Touhou, when I hold the lock button, you'll see that I move a little bit slower than when I let go. So I'm moving pretty fast, I hold the lock button, we slow down. So it's also a way to kind of adjust your movement, get more precise adjustments when you are trying to dodge some really difficult patterns. And you can also just keep using these lock shots, but because it expands outwards, if you want to do rapid shots for the lock, you want to be close to the enemy, because if you're far away, it takes a moment before that sphere reaches them and even begins locking on. So you see that if I'm down in the corner, to hold it like that long before it even locks on. And you can, if you're curious about the buttons I'm pressing, up in the top left, there's a button input here that's very handily provided by the game. And I am playing on an analog controller, it just has the D-pad as if you're playing on a D-pad.
Gotcha, and green number is another flat multiplier?
Yes. So when you're getting your score, let me get these gold items off the screen. What it does is it takes the base value of the item or the enemy or whatever, and it multiplies it, I'm trying to circle on the wrong screen, by this number, and then it multiplies it again by that, the green number. So that's how you get such ridiculously high point values, because in arrange mode, one of the things they did, if we switch over real quick, well, not quite, is that it adds another way of increasing these numbers, but you can enter high rank mode, which further increases the maximum number that green number can be in return for even more difficulty. And you can kind of see down here when I'm picking up these stars, they're all worth about 107,360 points. If I let that wear off, and then I pick up some stars, hang on, let's do that again, you'll see now they're worth about 24,000. So that's a really big change in points. And that's just from the green number being removed. The break rate up here, we haven't even been incrementing this too hard. So the main goal when you're scoring is you want to get the break rate really high, get the green number to be up there and on the screen the entire time, then enter break mode and just do a ton of damage, get a lot of scoring, point blank enemies, just go ham. And that's kind of the theme with a lot of shmups like this, is playing dangerously is more points.
I don't know if this is normal in shmups, but I appreciate that the point totals multiply in real time for your scores. So as your multiplier goes up, it tells you, hey, your multiplier went up, therefore this is what this is now worth. So yeah, that's pretty normal in games. A lot of games won't show you the point numbers pop up, but if they do, it'll usually give you the updated number. So the version that I like to play is called Arrange Mode, and you'll notice this doesn't have that fourth ship there that's super overpowered, and you only have these three. So I like to play with Type 1, and the big difference here, if we just pause this, there's a nice tutorial on Arrange Mode, and you'll notice that in this top right, instead of that break meter that was there before, it says rank low. And the way this rank meter works is that as you stay alive, would you stop doing that, please? It will slowly increase and fill upwards. And if it ever completely fills up, this low will change to a high, and the light on the side will kind of tick upwards. It'll turn like a magenta, and then the maximum green number gets doubled. So in range mode, your green number can go up to 25.6 instead of 12.8. Just a huge scoring increase. And then the other thing is that since you can't break or bomb manually, it's handled down here by this Gradius style multimeter down here. So in this mode, every time you pick up any scoring items, and they've been changed a little bit visually, this meter increments. And then just like in Gradius, when you hit the button, which is what was the break button, and if your meter is here, you'll get a speed upgrade. If it's here, you'll enter break mode. And if it's here, you'll get 2 more options, because if you look at the ship, we are much weaker than we were in the other mode. But if you fill up all of your power-ups using this meter, we become more powerful. Then there's this shield here at the end, because we can't bomb manually.
the only way you can bomb in this mode is if you have a shield and you get hit. It will bomb, clear the screen, drop you out of break mode, etc. It'll take a big chunk off your break rate, and it's like, you don't die, but it bombs and it keeps you going. And the main reason, that might sound bad, like why would you want the shield then? Like you're still losing stuff for dying, but the shield gives a pretty good chunk of increase onto this rank gauge. And since we want to be in high rank the entire time, the goal of stage 1 is you want to like power up your ship, get into high rank, charge up your scoring, and then just charge in the rest of the game. So part of doing that is that you want the shield because this meter here, the rank gauge, charges at a different speed on each stage. So in stage 1, it goes very slow. If we could stop doing that, that would be great. And then on stage 2, it charges a little faster. Stage 3, and by the time you reach stage 5, or the stage 5 boss, it charges fully from empty to full in about a minute. It's pretty aggressive.
Oh dear.
So is the goal then just kind of to get everything as upgraded as possible and then cycle through shields
So you want
at
to...
optimal times?
Yeah, so like having the shield be hit hurts your scoring because it bombs, and bombing reduces your break rate. So the goal is we want to get a shield so we can get a high rank as soon as possible, and then never pop the shield. So, you know, like other shmups, traditionally the best way to score is to not get hit. You just want to keep the shield the entire time. But when the rank meter is at...
Welcome back. You'll have to forgive us. Technology is, well, it is a thing that we have to deal with, for better or for worse. It's been rough, but hopefully we should have everything cleared up and ready, and we should be good. So you may continue at your leisure. I was listening very intently.
Yeah. Tech is haunted. That's what we like to say. It's haunted.
Tech is in fact haunted.
Wait to see it.
I like to say that audio's haunted, and the main audio engineer for GDQ also says that audio's haunted. So I feel very
Yeah.
very, very seen whenever he agrees with me. All right, so we were just going over kind of everything we talked about, the very basics, and if I load up arranged mode, you see there's like a tutorial that plays. It'll kind of show everything I just talked about. So I'm going to let this play out. You can kind of watch the ship move around. The one big difference with arranged mode is not just the meter changes, everything I was talking about, but the large stars that drop. So we'll wait for one of those to appear on the screen. Those change the gameplay significantly. So you see the ship moving around, it's locking on, it lets go of the lock shot here in a second, I believe. Those lasers fly out and gives the green number, which counts down, but killing enemies, doing more lock shots makes that number below it increase. So you see that the tutorial is increasing their timer, and they're also incrementing that meter down at the bottom, which they're using. They just selected the speed power up. And now you see these big giant stars that appear here. They're kind of hard to see, but they're like right here and right here.
Ooh,
currently.
big.
They're like large, you know, Old West sheriff badges in the movies. They're kind of like those, just like gold and metallic if I frame advance here. Doing a method that absolutely disqualifies you from the leaderboard, but it's great for a showcase. You see they kind of drop there, and if you pick them up, you get a large boost in score, you get a large boost in your break rate, and it also gives you a pretty decent chunk onto the meter at the bottom. So what this means is, in this mode, beyond everything else that I was talking about, scoring is all about picking up these stars. They also, when you are in break mode, they get a little bit bigger, so they'll visually appear larger, and then in double break mode they'll be even bigger than that. That also further increases their base point value, how much break rate they give, and a little bit of a change on the meter, but main reason is they give more points, more break rate. So you want to be in break mode as much as possible, fully charged up, picking up all the stars. But that means you're going to have to put yourself into dangerous situations to pick those up. And that's kind of the core of a lot of shmup scoring, is playing dangerously to get more points.
Got you. Do they just like random drop from like certain enemies, or is it like something you intentionally generate?
So you'll notice, like with the larger ships, they're always going to drop a star. And then, depending on the ship, they have a set number of stars that they drop. But also the little enemies that are kind of going by here on the sides of the screen. These are called, in shmups, they call them Zako enemies, which roughly translates to popcorn. They're the really basic enemies. They die in one hit, and the shmups love to send huge waves of them at you, so they're popping constantly, giving a lot of score. And whenever you have a wave of Zako enemies, there are a set number of stars that will drop from that wave, but they don't always drop from the same enemy. But for the most part, most of the stars you know exactly where they're going to come from. You can kind of plan around it. You can kind of route your movement, trying to make sure you can pick up as many stars as you can.
So I saw in one of the earlier parts that you were showing, there was moments where the stars were kind of coming to you as opposed to you coming to fetch them. When does each one happen?
So that's an interesting question, and I can show that here in a second. Let me just load this up, and right here in arrange mode you can choose whether you want to do semi-auto or manual. What this does is semi-auto, it will kind of select upgrades for you based on what it thinks is important. But the important thing is that it won't select it immediately. So if it decides to do speed, it'll let the meter reach about here before it selects speed, which then means you lose about this much of your gauge. So if you're trying to optimize the game, you want to play on manual so that you can select speed like the moment it gets to here, lock the moment it gets to here. It lets you get more upgrades more quickly, stay in break mode a little bit longer, kind of crank out a few more points. So we're going to be playing in manual mode, and then we're going to do a break as soon as we can, because break making your shots do more damage means that we're going to charge up the meter a little bit faster when we're point blanking. And then I'll show you what caused that vacuum there in a second once we get there. So we're going to camp the top of the screen. And if you remember, we're camping the top of the screen because enemies are appearing up here and we're shooting them while they're in this space where they can't take damage yet. But we're getting points, we're getting stars from it, and we're getting gauge from it. So if you look right now, you'll see this star number here. Those are the little score items. And to the left of it is the number of the big score items. And you'll see me shoot enemies before they're on screen, and this number here will increase. So keep an eye on that here. And then even just shooting this guy at point blank, that number's increasing even though it's not taking damage. So these enemies in particular are interesting because they take damage less so when they're closed, but you'll see when I hit break mode, my ship transformed. This big break mode appeared. Let's get the menu off the screen there. And then this star that was over here started flying towards me. And that's because when you engage break mode, any stars that are on the screen are going to vacuum towards your ship. And any stars you create during this transformation process, which is when you have the shield around you, those are all also going to fly towards you. So sometimes you're going to want to use your break mode strategically so that instead of picking up stars up here at the top of the screen, you want to let them drop down here and then be pushed back up towards you. Because when I'm transforming, if you see, let me get this off the screen, this meter doesn't fill while you're transforming. So if you transform and you immediately grab all the stars, you don't get any meter, which that's not good. You want that meter. That helps you score. So sometimes you'll let items drop to the bottom of the screen, or like I showed you before, they can drop below the play screen down here, because the game doesn't unload things immediately as soon as they're off the screen. There's this kind of grace area down here. So if there's score items down there and you transform, it'll pull them back up towards you. So that's kind of the gremlin mode of scoring, trying to get the absolute min-max out of your scoring. And then you'll notice if once I used break mode, my meter at the bottom changed. So this doesn't look like what I showed you before. And if I pull up this image that I have, then you'll see a lot of stuff here. So what happens is this bottom line is the base base meter. This is what it looks like at most times. And as you select an upgrade, it moves up one. So there's 4 tiers of speed before this magenta one appears, and then when the magenta speed appears, if you select it, it takes you back down to the base speed. For the lock, what it does is it allows you to lock onto more enemies, but then once it reaches these two, it lets you alternate how your lock behaves. The same thing happens over here with the options. You gain more options, and then your options will behave differently. With type 1, it either does the homing options or just the normal formation. But when you break, you move up to the next bar, which is completely different, and you'll see certain things aren't here. Speed is gone. Also, the shield is gone, and it moves the lock over a bit. The homing becomes over here, and in order to double break, you have to fill it up almost all the way. Then once you double break, you get this extend break option, which doesn't exist in other modes. It'll just add some onto your break timer. If you're trying to loop this as many times as you can, where you extend your break over and over again, you will... is not a single stage which will let you select this enough times to stay in break mode indefinitely. It will run out, but staying in break mode is more points. So you want to, in most situations, get this extend as often as you can.
Gotcha. So on the other bars, is it like useful at all to grab anything but double break or extend break?
I mean, sometimes you want to change your homing and your formation or your sights here. What you want to do is, if you know for a fact you can't reach extend break and it's going to run out, and you know you want to change your sight or your option behavior, on that last run through while it's filling up, you'll just select sight or formation because you know you can't get to extend. The other thing that I can't really show easily visually is that these bars show the same, but if we turn these bars into a number, they're not the same length. So the bottom bar is about that, the second bar is about that, and then the third bar is way longer. So you'll notice that when you're trying to fill up towards double break or even extend breaks, it takes longer to fill up this meter. But the other thing is, since you're in break mode, you actually can fill the meter a little bit faster. So if you were to look at this purely numerically, you'd see the first number of the fraction is going up really fast when you're in break mode and double break mode. It's just the second number to fully fill the bar is way higher.
Okay. And then from what you're saying, it's not always optimal to stay in the one setup. Sometimes you have to change your lock, your sight, and the other options.
Yeah. So if I try to show you, let's restart, because I can do the option. There's a route you do here that is really important for trying to maximize your ship. And I also want to show you the timer for break mode, because I realized I didn't show you that. So we'll go over that real quick, and then we can see what questions you and chat might have, and then I'll go into breaking down more specific things. So what's going on here is, I mentioned this a little bit before, these enemies, when they come down, they're kind of like capsules, and when they're closed like this, oh, okay. I was looking at the long. Well, while they're closed like this, they take drastically reduced damage. So you can point blank them for a bunch of points, but also if you look down at the bottom while I'm point blanking them, you get a lot of the meter at the bottom while shooting them like that. So if I pause, you'll see over on the left here, we'll get rid of that other arrow, there's this percentage meter. And if I unpause, that's going to tick down, and that is the timer on your break mode.
I've seen so many games across the years do timers percentages, and it's always kind of odd to me because it's hard to understand at first glance what you're looking at.
The other thing about range mode that I really like is that it mirrors everything on the UI around the ship. So if I get some lock shots going. So on the previous version that I showed you, where it showed the number of lock-ons that you had, that's here below the ship. If you look here on the inner ring, it's showing you the multi-gauge at the bottom. So you see there's a blank section here, then a section, then another section, and then another section. That is mirrored to be this bar down at the bottom. And this yellow gauge that is slowly going this way, that's the timer on your brake meter. So in range mode, they give you all of the information that's scattered around your screen, down here, over here, and it's all around your ship, which is really nice.
That is genuinely very useful, and I appreciate them thinking about that.
I live for the shmup quality of life features like this. I can't go back to older ones for these reasons.
This feels like a genre where those small quality of life improvements really make a world of difference for gameplay.
Oh, they really do. I can't.
Yeah.
So
Especially, I think the reason why they did it is because this multimeter at the bottom is taking up the gauge that used to show your lock shots. So they had to move that somewhere. And then while they're doing it, they're like, well, we can do other nice quality of life things, you know? So we're going to try and do the route you do on stage 1 to charge up the ship really quickly. It's going to involve a lot of point blanking, and pay attention to how I'm going to try and stay really close to these silver ships before they open up. And then I want to release my lock shot and point blank the other one for a little bit longer. And the whole goal here is we want to enter break mode, because that'll let us charge up some of the other stuff faster. We're going to get some of these option upgrades, which is more shots, which means you're actually charging the gauge faster with more shots. So out of break mode, we're going to go back into it, start point blanking, and then once our options are maxed out, we're going to get more locks. We're going to point blank more to fill up our lock meter. I'm just mashing the button. Then we're going to leave break mode, charge up our speed, because that only charges. I accidentally overcharged my speed, so we're back to 0. Oops. And now I want to get the shield, because like I talked earlier, if you look at the break gauge and the rank gauge, excuse me, in the top right, and you see how it is filled about this much, and I'm about to select this shield upgrade. Watch this meter when I select the shield upgrade. It's now full.
Instantly filled up. Yeah.
So now I'm fully charged up, minus the speed, because I made a small mistake. We're in double break mode, and watch how quickly the break rate goes up.
Ooh.
That is a number. That is a very, very big number.
Ooh.
And it does not seem to be slowing down.
So happy right now.
So the first stage is very technical, but it's a very good explanation of how all the pieces come together. Because that route that I just did to power up the ship and do all of that is really hard. It took me a lot of practice to get good at doing that consistently, let alone doing it while I'm talking.
I love this level of visual clutter. Here to tell you that yes, the number is going higher.
Yeah,
one of the nice things is that, like, you know, there's a lot of visual clutter, but your ship is always above everything. The bullets are always above everything. So that little, like, stream of gold items flying towards me right now, you can kind of tune that out after a little while. And then you'll see, you know, the big stars appear, and it's important to make sure you're picking those up so they're a little bit more visually clear over everything else as well. And then, like that, that's an important part of scoring in this game. If you get a full lock shot, so in this instance, I get the 25.6 to kill the boss. Not only does it drop a bunch of score items for killing the boss, but once these are all done, you'll see it just gives this popcorn of a bunch of extra scoring items. And this little scoring explosion at the end only happens if you kill with a full lock shot.
Delicious.
It's just another little technical thing to do, because you gotta be dealing with the boss, watching their health meter, make sure you're holding a full lock, and then let go before it dies. And, just like the other stars, those points are worth more if you're in break or double break when they start popping out. So that's just how there's a lot of things to juggle here. And
it does look like a game that's very satisfying. Like, it's the kind of thing where once you get it right, it looks like something that's very, very satisfying to the brain to like, get right and see all the numbers pop up.
So that's kind of the very basics of the mechanics. So did people have any other questions about mechanics before we jump into the next part?
Does look like chat does, and I certainly don't, though I'm biased. I'm used to this.
So you said you can tune out a little bit some of the colors. Is that something that's going to be consistent throughout the whole run? Just, you know, you're looking for specifically like the bullet colors. Are the bullet colors consistent, or
yeah,
is that something you kind of have to change?
The bullet colors are generally the same color. So hang on, let me go back in here and we'll up training mode a little bit early so I can give you a later stage and show the visual clutter. We'll go to stage 4 here. And this is definitely a visually busy stage. What? These settings are not correct. 1 second. So the nice thing about this game is training mode, which I'm going to show earlier, is there's a lot of presets, which is fantastic. I love that. I just don't have this one set up correctly, so give me a second.
Oh, does this game have a great training mode then?
Oh yeah.
Oh, bless.
Training mode. I mean, it's required at this point, you know.
Yeah.
We're going to get all the stars. We're gonna have the front lock on type. That's important. We don't want the different formation. Gonna give us, you know, a couple hundred of these. And then this, we're gonna crank this up because stage 4 is one of the highest scoring stages in the run. We'll get onto that later, but this will be a big number.
Ooh, that is a big. Oh. Oh, that's so big.
So you'll see as I get into this boss, there'll be a constant stream of yellow going on in the background, but you should see that the bullets, the yellow, the blue, and like the magenta colors are always there above it. And then the big stars appear on the layer above that. So it looks like a lot, but once you've played the game a bit and you get used to looking at it, you can see how you can kind of tune out that background layer of bullets. We'll get even more going here because this is actually one of the bosses you can farm for points. And one of the nice things about arrange mode is they changed this boss so that farming it is a little bit more difficult, so you have to play riskier in order to farm it, and there is a time limit. So we're not running into a situation like, I follow Aquas on Twitter, and he's really been grinding out Pink Sweets recently, which is super hard game. But when you're playing for score, there's some really extended farming sections where you're fighting a boss for like 10 minutes. And it's just grueling.
That's rotting on the hood.
Yeah, it's really difficult. It's super impressive that people can do that, but it is not my jam. So while we're doing this, if we just don't shoot the boss much, you notice every time that the turret dies, there's like a little pixel comes off its health bar. If I just keep doing this long enough, you'll see the boss will be like, nope. It'll pull a Toho and be like, you ran out of time, we're going on to the next stage. And there's actually a punishment for it in this mode, actually, because if you look at the break rate, it just drops by 10k once the boss exploded and moved on to the next phase. So
when you say pull a Toho, what does that mean?
So in the Toho series of games, every boss fight, you can advance every pattern in 2 ways: by doing enough damage or surviving long enough. And that's in certain Toho games, there are, you know, actually encourages you to try and beat some of the bosses by not doing damage. Because you get like different spell card patterns if you capture their spell card by the timer or versus like shooting them with damage. So that's kind of a mechanic that's really well known in the Toho series of just running out of time on a phase and then moving on. So when other games do it, it kind of gets related to Toho in that way.
Thank you for telling me that. I did not know. That's kind of an interesting mechanic.
So if we could switch back over to the video, you kind of see, did that kind of answer your question on just seeing the different layers of bullets and how everything's moving?
Yeah, I think part of it is also just a practice thing where if this is your first exposure to it, it feels very overwhelming. But I could see how,
but again,
you can just...
Like, if it's overwhelming, the novice mode on this game is fantastic, because I kind of showed that before. But there's a lot of really good shmups that have really good novice modes, and I just selected the wrong mode. 1 second. Habits are hard to break, folks. Oh, we are in novice, okay. So if you load up novice, you'll see a lot of the same things. There is no novice for arrange mode, because arrange difficulty is kind of in between novice and original, or between novice and arcade. But you'll notice there's just a lot less bullets on screen, and the bullets move a little bit slower, but when you're scoring, you can still kind of make those big streams of yellow score items appear. So there's this thing that people have where they think that, you know, they're playing a really hard shmup and you're playing the novice mode, that's shameful. You should jump right into the hard mode, trial by fire. And I say absolutely not. Play the speed of game that is comfortable to you, and then if you feel like challenging yourself, try moving up to the next higher difficulty. There are people who only play the novice modes and they have fun, and that's okay.
Yeah, I think easy modo ruined like an entire generation.
Yeah.
100%. I know it did for me. I mean, I ended up trial by fire and then I ended up okay,
But you'll see, even in novice mode, when you're going into break mode, there's a lot of stuff on screen, but it's a lot less dangerous. So if you're feeling overwhelmed, you can play novice mode, you can try the other modes, maybe it's a little bit more difficult. Get used to seeing everything on the screen. But I want to switch over here because I've got a replay. It's of one of my scores. It's not, I don't think it's my current PB, but it's a good example because it's got a decent number of mistakes in it, and we can talk about things, and I can explain the stages and things to look out for, different enemy types, how they behave. And it'll be a little bit better than throwing you right into like a super top level replay where we're going to analyze every single thing that happens, you know?
Oh yeah, a little replay review for the real ones. I'm excited.
So we already talked a little bit about stage 1. So we're gonna move through this probably a little bit faster, but you'll notice the same thing that I just did happens here. We're camping these silver bullet chips, trying to get enough, and actually this route is not doing great. Is this the right replay? Hold on. This might just be a really old replay. Oh yeah, this one's just really old.
I still greatly appreciate that this game has built-in replays.
Oh yeah, the replays are great, and also in Ignition there was a DLC called the Super Play Replays, where they gave you some like really high-level scoring replays, and like, hey, these are you know, good examples. Hang on, I'm gonna turn this off for a second because I loaded up the wrong file. We're gonna not show you my file library. That seems like a bad idea. Yeah, because this one is quite old, older than I thought it was. So we're gonna load up a newer one that should be better to talk about. There we go.
Cool.
Yeah, here we go. You see that I'm camping those bullets at the top.
Will we be able to see on Discord?
Oh, does it not show up on Discord?
No, it does not, but it's okay. We
What?
can see it on the other stream.
But I'm sharing the window projector. Huh? Why is that? What am I sharing on Discord? I'm sharing the wrong window. Oh my god.
Womp, womp.
There we go. You can see me drawing on stuff now. Hi.
Yep.
Let's go!
It's okay. Text haunted.
I've been drawing on the screen the entire time and you didn't see it?
I've been seeing it. I've been seeing it. I have both feeds open. Don't worry about it.
Open. Yeah. Don't worry, you're fine.
It's still not showing. Can you see the writing?
Yeah. Well, I can see it on the the main feed.
No, there we go.
But that's okay.
Change windows. Hang on. We want you to see the writing. Okay, Discord is deciding I'm not allowed to share the window projector and you can't see the writing. So unfortunately,
that's fine. We can see it through the screen. Okay. You're good.
So the same thing is happening here. We're camping here, and our goal is to hit break mode down here because we want to start charging up the power-ups like I talked about. So we're just going to move through. We kind of already explained this stage, but one thing to mention here that's important is that I haven't talked about this yet is killing the enemies quickly is also important, because if you watch while we're playing, this background, like this bridge, is scrolling downwards, and there's all these buildings here on the side. This is just a big image that scrolls while you're playing. And at certain points, the game says there's going to be a wave of enemies here, and until this background reaches a certain point, those enemies are going to keep spawning. So this big ship that you can barely see behind all of these shot markers, if you kill it quickly enough, will spawn 2 extra ships, which would not have showed up in when I just showed you stage 1. So it dies really quickly here, and then these 2 ships come down. These weren't here when I was showing you before because I was taking my time and playing a little slower. These show up entirely because I killed that ship quickly. And this is really important because each of these ships is going to spawn a big star item, and that'll charge up my break rate even more, give me more points, and because of the way that this charges up and the lock-on and everything, getting more points early on makes everything else worth even more because it's just a multiplier that keeps going up. So that's one of the really important things to talk about in a range, is that in the arcade modes, oftentimes you're getting score through what's listed here on the flush meter, which that is deleting bullets on screen. In arcade, a lot of times you want to let the screen completely fill with bullets and then delete them all by breaking or killing a large enemy. But in a range mode, you really want these gold stars, the big gold stars that appear right here because I just killed those 2 enemies. Could you stop doing that? It's misbehaving where I click and it makes this big long streak. But so I killed these 2 ships, the 2 stars are here, and now there's 2 more coming down. So this is really, really important and something to keep in mind when you're trying to score in a range, is that you want to recognize when a spawn is a set spawn and it's only going to be this number of ships, and when you're in a wave mode where it's just going to keep spawning ships until you hit a certain point in the background. And when you're in wave mode, you absolutely want to kill the enemies who are coming out as fast as possible. But if you're in a set spawn, like this big ship who comes here, this ship is at the end of these waves. There's nothing that's going to spawn after this ship for a while, and then you're going to wait, and then there's going to be more ships that are coming down. So in most instances, you would want to let this ship just fill the screen with bullets, just absolutely get everything everywhere, and then you kill it and clear all the bullets. But right now I'm point blanking it because we're still trying to fill up this meter. So we're breaking the general rule here because powering up our ship on stage 1 is more important than squeezing out a few extra points. But if you see later on where sometimes I'm just up in enemies' faces, killing them as fast as possible, go, 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 boom, 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 and other times where I'm just like taking my time, it's probably the difference between if it's a set spawn or if it's a waves.
It does come back to something you said very early on, though, where it's very similar to speedrunning in the sense of sometimes you want to go fast, sometimes you have to do a little tech to get a better pattern.
Yeah, and there's definite routing that goes into it as well, especially with the fact that the break mode is here in the middle of the bar. It makes you have to kind of consider things of, you know, do I want more points and less meter because I want to be able to actually break a little bit later than I want to. So you'll also see that in this instance, I got the ship fully powered up. We've got the shield, and I got the second tank that appeared at the bottom here. If I go back, is tied to this tank. Let me get it on screen again. Unfortunately, in longer videos, VLC only likes to skip by like 10-15 seconds at a time. So this large mine ship isn't part of the marker here, but this tank here, if I could do arrows, great. That would be lovely. This tank and the 2 ships that are about to come down here are all part of the same enemy group. And what's going to happen is there's going to be another tank that comes in from down here and 2 more of those silver bullets ships. But if you kill this enemy group of these 3 ships fast enough, an extra tank comes in from the bottom. And these tanks are worth a lot of star items. So what I'm trying to do is I want to get the shield upgrade. I'm locked onto this ship, but I'm not releasing it. And I want to kill this tank and then let go of the lock-on shot so both of these die, and then I'm going to move over to the left, over this way, and all of the stars are going to drop down to the bottom of the screen. Then when I hit break mode, they're going to vacuum up back this way towards me. And that means I don't pick up the stars while I'm transforming. You get a little bit extra value out of it, and we get the extra tank down at the bottom, so you get an easy full-on lock shot for the 25.6 value. Because this part of the stage is just huge wave mode, tons of big enemies coming, and it's the best place to be completely locked and loaded on double break, 25.6, camp the top of the screen. It's one of the best points in the game for just hitting extend break over and over again. Because all of these ships that are appearing, if you kill them quickly, we're in wave mode. All of this is just extra ships, extra ships, extra ships, and all of these extra stars that we're picking up for more points, charging up the break mode, getting more extend breaks. really, really important, this part. It's how we're able to still score decently well in the first stage, even though we have to put a punch of time into charging up our ship's power-ups first. And you see, immediately there, because this is not my best run, I took a hit on the shield. So if you watch the break rate in the top right before I take the hit, it's currently 38.4. But when we take the hit, it bombs the screen, and it drops down to 30,000. Actually, it just finished dropping, and we're now down to 29,000. So we lose the rank gauge, because now that we don't have the shield, we don't have the temporary boost. We lose break rate, and now we don't have the shield. So that's a pretty big penalty, having your shield popped when you don't want it to be, because it's just, now everything is worth a lot less up here in the corner. That's kind of the... Sorry, what's going on?
I want to just comment real quick on something, and that is, it's kind of amazing to see how, like you said, this game can be very accessible if you want it to be, but at a very like high experience level, like you're showing off here, it's simultaneously precise movement and timing and routing, and you functionally have to do a no-hit run for the optimal gameplay. So it's kind of nice to see that the game has that level of diversity where you can both have the casual experience, but if you want to go hard and just do all the things, it's absolutely there. It's kind of your choice as to where in that spectrum you want to land.
Oh yeah, and that's true for a lot of shmups. Like if you just want to play to get the clear in a lot of shmups, it's a significantly different experience than if you're playing for a high score. Because in most shmups going for a high score, you have to make the game a lot more difficult. And there's one thing I want to point out, because it's a really good point to show it, but if you look at where the bullets are hitting the tank here, there's like this crackly lightning coming off. You see that effect if I remove the... Yeah. That appears when you're point blanking. So it's another visual indicator of you are close enough that this counts as point blanking. And the benefits of point blanking, I've talked about it a little bit, are you do a little bit more damage, you spawn more score items. So up here, this little number that's going up, little number, well, it's a big number, but it's the little stars. That goes up faster, and you also charge your meter down here faster by point blanking. So point blanking helps you do a little bit more damage, but also charge the meter faster, which is really important, because this boss, you want to get into double break mode. Both of these side turrets can be killed for stars, but like I said earlier, the stars are worth a lot more when you're in double break mode. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to charge up our break mode. Then, because I said earlier, this meter doesn't charge while you're transforming. Ideally, I don't know if I do it in this replay, once you start transforming into break mode, you want to stop firing, because this enemy doesn't have a lot of health. So I transform, and you see I'm not firing anymore. And then you start firing again, charge up towards double break, which is better if you can fly closer to the ship. But now this tank is firing a large number of bullets. So playing up here is a lot more dangerous than playing down here. That's again risk reward. How dangerous do you want to play it? And there is a point value that you gain in return for playing risky. Now that I'm in double break mode, let's get all this crap off the screen. You want to break the side turrets. You see that one just got broken, so there's all these stars coming down. And then there's the other turret over here we want to break. And then we want to kill the boss with a full lock shot, which you see I'm holding down here. All my locks are all charged up because I want to kill the boss with it. And then, unfortunately, this boss likes to do this where it moves really far to the left side of the screen. So now the turret I want to kill is no longer on the screen. You can kind of manipulate the way it moves, but at other times it's just not friendly. So I go for the full lock shot, pick up the points that I can, and you just get this nice point explosion afterwards.
That's so rude.
Yeah.
So, two kind of follow-on questions to the stuff you were explaining just now. One, I'm guessing by the fact that there's a visual indicator that the point-blank attacks are a binary state. You're either point-blanking or you're not.
Yeah.
And then the other question would be, is the distance for point-blanking kind of set and the same across all enemies, or do different enemies have different point-blank ranges?
I'm not entirely certain on that. There are benefits to being as close as you can be, because especially with this ship, when you're holding the lock button, you see currently the options are like onto the side. But if I back up when I'm holding the lock button, you'll see that the options have moved forward like this. So what it does is when you're not holding lock, this ship fires like a bunch straight forward, and then all of your options shoot outwards like this. So it's kind of this wide spray. But when you're holding lock, you get a very concentrated inward fire. And because of that, when you've got an enemy that's right up here on your nose, every single shot is point blanking them. But when you're here and the enemy is here and you're still point blanking, some of these side shots might not be making contact. So you're still point blanking with all of this that's firing in here, but these enemies aren't making these shots aren't making contact, and there is a point value here for hitting your shots, and it also means none of those are point blanking. So there's a binary state of are you point blanking, but there's also are you point blanking with all of your shots at the moment, and that's very important too. So I'm uncertain how much it matters, like, does this enemy have a larger point blank range than other enemies? I haven't really tested that. Where like this one might be like this versus this for a smaller enemy. But
there's still an optimal range to be at.
Yes, you still want to be as close as you feel safe getting to an enemy for more points. So we'll move on to stage 2 here, unless you had other questions.
No, I'm good for now.
So stage 2, we're going to start off with some point blanking, but this one is a lot less friendly for point blanking, and you'll see why as we get into it. We have some new enemies here. I want to introduce these enemies that appear because they appear, I think, on every stage from here onwards, and the way they behave just changes on each stage. So it's this big ship here, and you'll see the moment that it started firing these 2 purple lasers. So what they like to do is they'll fire streams of bullets at you in parallel patterns, and it will always shoot at where you are. And on this stage, that's all they do. In further stages, what they'll do is they'll fire these streams of bullets, and then after those come, they just do a huge mess of bullets afterwards. Just like, oh my goodness, they fill the screen, which can be great for scoring, but it also can kind of mess up where you want to move on screen. So right now, these enemies aren't very threatening, but keep an eye out for them later in the game. They are going to get more difficult as they keep reappearing.
Oh no, they get really mean, don't they?
Yeah.
Oh,
is there an amount of being in the right position to bait the shots into a convenient location for later?
Yeah, so pretty much all of the enemies in the normal stage, if you watch where I am versus where the bullets are going, they shoot at where you are on the screen. So one of the classic strategies of shmups, let me just load up the game again real quick, is what we call tap dodging. Let me think about where I can get a good tap dodge going. Okay, here on the 5th boss, we can get a tap dodge going here. It's a little bit different because this isn't tracking me specifically, but the idea here is there's a bunch of enemies who are going to appear and they're just going to start shooting me, and if I don't... Oh, I know a better way for a tap dodge. Sorry, 1 second. 4th boss, no, 3rd boss, right here. So if I don't shoot at these, they're going to fire at me, and you just slowly tap out of the way because they're all firing at where you are. So if you just move the smallest increment according to how big the bullets are to get out of the way, all of these shots miss. I kind of messed it up a little bit because you usually don't tap dodge this, you just kill them. But they're all shooting at where I am, so just a tiny movement out of the way makes all those shots miss. That's a very common shmup technique where you just tap dodge. And this is also a great point to show off the fact that they're on the screen even after they leave the bottom. So if I hold the lock here, and then they all go down here, I still just shot those enemies off the screen, and I got the reward for it. So hopefully that explains that a little bit, of just like how enemies target you, and even just small movements are sometimes all you need to get around them.
Yeah, that was actually very helpful. Thank you.
So this stage, there's a couple points where you want to point blank, and there's a very particular break route here. So there is a point there, depending on how you're doing, where this extend break option is available, and I still haven't decided whether or not it's good to take it or not. Because, again, like, we're low percentage right now on our break. We're very close to extend break. But there's also considerations of, if I extend the break, does that... I stay in double break a little bit longer, but you have to think about the stage of, there's a high scoring value section of the stage coming up, and I want to make sure I'm in break or double break for that. So when the break mode clears, I then have to take time to fill up this meter again to break, and then fill it all the way up again to double break. So you kind of wanted to consider, what's the benefit of extending the break versus just letting it drop and building it up again? Because like right now, there is a bunch of these ships going on right here. So this is worth a decent chunk. But then there's a really high scoring section after it here with this big ship. And then it's hard to see, but there are 2 turrets over here on the right. And there's actually an achievement for killing both of them because they have very, very high health. Extremely high health. So in this section, one of the things you can do for scoring is you're using your lock shots to kill enemies as they come down over on this section of the screen. And you want to try and point blank these 2 turrets on the right side as much as you can, because then you can just farm a bunch of points, but all those points also are increasing your break rate a bunch, since you're in double break, just farming those with point blank. So it's kind of a decision of like, do you want to extend and then maybe you don't get it at a double break for this section, or it affects the entire rest of the stage whenever you decide to extend break and how things line up. So it's a kind of a big routing puzzle. That's one of the things that I like to say that's similar to speedrunning is, like, especially with a game like this that has the meter management, the resources that you're managing the entire time, there is definite routing, not just on like when do you break, but like where am I moving on the screen and when. Because if you push yourself into the corner at a bad point, you can get completely trapped, and that's definitely something that you want to be routing around. But coming up here is why this stage is interesting for routing, because these train cars, they're like these cargo cars. If you watch it, it's going to deploy a bunch of mines, and they're just going to like fall down the screen like this, and each mine will spawn a star.
Oh, I'm so glad we got the train stage.
A
Thank
bunch of
goodness.
them.
I was worried.
Now, the mean part is that when you're in high rank, which we are right now, because of more points, and you kill a mine, not only does it create a star, but it spawns a bunch of bullets. Just sprays them everywhere. You can delete the bullets by killing the train car, but if you leave the train car alive, you can get 2 to 3 more waves of mines, which is a lot of points. So this is one of the really big risk-reward sections. The longer you leave this train car alive, spawning these mines, you can kind of see one right here. It's hard for me to frame advance because VLC doesn't like that as much, but there we go. You see them there. These mines here. Every single wave of these that you can kill and farm successfully is worth a lot of points, but when I kill them,
you get the shower.
You get a lot of bullets, and there's also people shooting you from the other sides of the screen. So this is a very big risk-reward section. I take the hit here because, again, this isn't one of my better replays, but I think sometimes when you're doing a replay review, having one with mistakes is more interesting. I just clicked the wrong thing. Gonna get back there for a second. And then up here in the top left, here's another one of those cargo cars. So you see the difference? It's got like these little squares here. That's how you can tell when these cargo cars are. And there's other cars that have like tanks on them, and there's flying turrets and everything. So the whole point of this section is not just farming these cars for points, but you also want to be in break mode when you do it. Because then when you're in break mode, you get even more points and more break rate out of them. So it's a really, really difficult section, even though it's only stage 2, because if you're trying to get the most points out of it, it's really, really dangerous. So stage 2 overall doesn't have a lot of complex things, but you see I'm kind of trying to let the mines come onto screen, shoot the mines, there's these waves in between, one of these larger ships appears. This ship in particular deletes all bullets on screen with dies, drops a bunch of the stars, get into break mode. Sometimes what you want to do here is, if we back up, this section with the train cars, they're going to come in multiple layers on this one actually. So what's going to happen is there's going to be a train car going this way, there's going to be a train behind it going this way. And on each side of the train, there are those cargo cars. And then up here, a little bit ahead of it, there's more cargo cars above it. And this whole section in the middle has enemies. So one of the things you can do to make it more easier on yourself is you want to kind of shoot into the center here and take out these enemies, and so that you have just the cargo cars on the screen and you have a little bit more space to dodge. So you see, doing a couple quick taps of shots there, just trying to kill some of those enemies, get some more of these stars on the screen, and then the second train is coming behind it, going this way. So you see, the thing opened up, there's some more mines coming out, and then we're to the boss. So right now, with some mistakes, we're at 53,000 break rate. We popped our shield, we kind of didn't farm the mines very much. A really good run on this stage can get upwards of 70,000. So, and that was so far 2.7 trillion points on this stage. One of the nice things, if you lose track of, like, that's a really big number, how many points is that? They're color coded. So the greens are not easy to explain because in Japanese counting, if you look, they're split into sections of 4 because they often count by thousands instead of by 3 digits and then a separator. Or sorry, but they count by 10,000s instead of by thousands. So you'll see the green here is the last 3 numbers of the green are million, and then the red number, or the last 3 are billion. I can talk, I promise. And then the red number is trillion. So if you ever at a glance just want to see how many number it is, just look for the red number at the end. That's trillion. You can figure out stuff from there.
Oh, that's really convenient. I want that in all my shmups now.
Yeah. So this boss is interesting because once it spawns,
ooh,
it's a big spider. So there's this section in the center, and if you look, each leg has these sections on it. And each one of these is a breakable item that can drop stars. And later on in the boss fight, each one of these is also going to spawn bullets.
Oh.
And this is an interesting problem because if you kill them all quickly, it's not exactly optimal. Because remember what I talked about earlier, killing things with a lock shot gives that green number here. One of the things you can do is these little marks on the health bar, the little divisions, those are boss phases. And every time you kill a boss phase, deletes all the bullets on screen, gives you a bunch of point items, and then transitions. But if right before you do that boss phase, you kill a segment with a full lock shot, you get the green multiplier, and all of those points it spawns are worth more. So even though leaving these segments alive can be dangerous, sometimes you want to leave them low health right before a boss phase happens, just so you get some more points. So this boss is a little bit of a problem of, if you watch how it's going, you know, there's a lot of dodging around. You do want to be taking out these segments, but you kind of also want to leave some alive as well.
So in a moment like this, you mentioned earlier that your attack pattern changes a bit when you're doing lock-on stuff. Mm-hmm. Is the regular shooting attack and the lock-on on the same button, or is it different inputs?
So the shooting your lasers is just one button always, and then when you hold the lock shot, your options behave differently. That's actually a good point, because I didn't go over this, but in this replay I actually have the alternate lock-on going at the moment. So right now it says formation, which is the default. So it's on homing right now. And if you watch as we start this boss fight, as soon as the fight starts, these options they're going to fly upwards and position themselves in front of different parts of the boss. And that's what homing does. They kind of go around the screen and put themselves in front of enemies as they appear, which is, it's nice in some situations when you want to be killing enemies that are appearing on the screen quickly to do the wave spawning. But if you want to do really precise focus fire on one thing and control where your damage is going out, then it's worse, because if you look at where they position themselves, there's like 2 on the boss here, there's 2 on segments over here, and there's 4 on the leg segments on the left. So it's a lot worse for controlling where your damage goes, but it's great if you just want to focus on survival. Just hold the button down and be like, I'm dodging bullets. I'm not paying attention to anything else.
That sounds like me.
I get that.
And that's one of the things you'll see when you look at the high scoring replays with arrange mode in particular, is that the higher scoring and the better routing they've got, they're probably spending less time in homing. Though, there is a replay, I finally found it. It took me over a year of the #1 score in this mode. And they very rarely use homing, but on stage 5, I discovered I can score higher than they do by using homing. So that's one of the nice things, you know, even compared to speedrunning. You look up somebody's run, you try to take notes like on the routing, what they did, but never assume that the #1 person on leaderboard is doing everything perfectly. And you'll see that here on this boss. So I didn't kill all the segments, which technically means I left some points on the board, because every segment gives a big star. So ideally you want to kill every leg segment before you kill the boss. But in this third phase, once the bullets start coming out, all of those leg segments start shooting these streams of bullets at you. So I'm going to pause it here. Now, that's with 6 of 18 segments. Imagine what happens if you have all 18 segments alive.
Dios mío.
A problem.
Yeah.
That's what happens. A problem.
So you do want to be killing them because it makes certain attack patterns easier, but it's also points. And we love points. So just, when do you want to kill them? How much do you want to be greedy? How much do you want to just play for survival? There's a lot of risk reward in fights in this game in particular when it comes to scoring, which is one of the things that I really like about it. Yeah, so Soul says 18. And earlier I showed you when the boss appeared, there are 6 legs. And on the end of each leg, there's like a little claw thing that's hanging onto the walls. And there's a segment where it meets the body. And the segments where it meets the body are not destructible. But the 3 segments in between on each leg are. So if we mark all 16 here, you can kind of see that.
Oh.
So all 3 of these are destructible on each leg. So there's 18 destructible segments.
That makes so much more sense now than what I was picturing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, it's all coming together.
Who sat down and noticed these things? That's amazing.
So one of the interesting things about arrange mode is this was added in World Explosion, which only came out about 2 years ago. And unfortunately, one of the things about shmups, I love shmups. They're great. They're really bad at documentation.
Yeah.
Even when shmups came in like a console game with a manual in it, they often just were missing crucial information or it had incorrect information. And one of the unfortunate things about arrange modes is they're generally a lot less popular. So a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about today, I just had to figure out, because there's really smart people who know all this stuff and most of them only speak Japanese and I do not.
Oh yeah, I got lucky with Bushi arrange. I had to like know someone to do a guy.
Yeah, it's a lot of the times that's what happens. When I did my Death Smiles run at AGDQ, it was a backup run, so like nobody knew it was coming on the schedule. And halfway through the run, the Japanese restream pulled somebody in who knew Death Smiles, and I know like enough Japanese. It's really, really basic and rudimentary to understand the first commentator was kind of just translating what we were talking about. And then when the second person came on, he just started going a mile a minute, actually talking, knows the game. And I tried to reach out to them on Twitter, and there was enough, like, we know each other's languages enough to say really polite things, but there was not going to be an exchange of good information there. The language barrier was just in the way, and I was just like, I'm so sad. I finally know somebody who plays this mode of the game, and I can't ask them for information. So we're on stage 3 now, and stage 3 is just kind of culminating a lot of the things we talked about before. So you want to get your green lock-on going, and then we've got wave enemies spawning here, where the ships that are flying in from either side of the screen, these spawn as soon as you kill them until the large enemy flies in down this way. And it's really rude, because when the large enemy flies down this way, if one of these smaller ships are on screen, it blows it up. And you don't get points, and you don't get stars. So you absolutely want to try and kill these as fast as you can until the ship appears. And it's one of the nice things about the achievements in this game is that a lot of the achievements lead you to scoring opportunities. There's an achievement for killing like 8 of these ships, I think. So it's like, hey, do this thing. It's good. It gets you more points, and we'll give you an achievement for it. So a lot of the achievements in this game, if you just try to complete the achievements, it'll naturally lead you to things that are worth more points.
I'm still getting over the fact that there's an enemy in this game that kill steals you.
Yeah. You can kind of see it here. It should be coming up. I think, yeah. It flies in, and it's a wing takes out that enemy on the side. And this enemy, we're going to see this a few more times. It's kind of hard to see right now because there's crap everywhere on the screen. But if we kind of draw the enemy's formation, there's these side guns here, and then a bunch of guns on the front. And these side guns are destructible. And up until this point, the only way to clear all the bullets on the screen is to kill an enemy. But with this enemy, killing the side guns also clears all the bullets on the screen. And this enemy also throws bullets everywhere. So if you're feeling comfortable enough, one of the things you can do, especially if you have this number here, which I don't on this replay, is you can let this enemy fill the screen with bullets, kill one of the side guns, let it fill the screens with bullets again, kill the other side gun, and then kill the big enemy for 3 full bullet clears. And what that does is the timer under this green number here, that can charge you up to like 600 or 800 out of a maximum of 999. So it's another opportunity for trying to get more scoring. You'll see I kill one, then I kill the other, and then I kill the main enemy. This isn't like a super optimal scoring replay, so you don't get the full experience there, but it shows how we're starting to get more complex enemies. They throw more bullets, but there's also more risk-reward for leaving them on screen longer. Are you sensing a pattern?
You want to go fast, except when you don't.
Mm-hmm. Alright, so we're going to move forward a little bit here, just a bunch of Zako enemies, and then we've got a mini-boss, which we haven't had many of these up until this point, because in the previous stage in arrange mode, they removed the mini-boss from stage 2 and put it into stage 4, because the stage 4 mini-boss in the original mode was kind of out of place. It was really easy. So they took that mini-boss, made it harder, put it in stage 4, and I think it was a good change. So this is our first mini-boss. There's no health phases, it's just, actually there's a health phase, it's not showing up. Oh, there it is. Okay, I just paused at a weird point. There's a health phase here, and you do get a few extra points for killing mini-bosses with a full lock shot, but not as much as main bosses. This one's pretty self-explanatory, not a whole lot to explain. Just dodging the lasers, it fills the screen with a lot of bullets. Are you aware of the League of Legends meme, "It's made with minions"?
Yes.
So
everything is made out of minions.
In Crimzon Clover, lasers are made with bullets.
Yup.
So I'm gonna let this laser here is just a bunch of bullets in here all over the place. I'm just spam clicking. There's so many bullets here. And that means if you ever screen clear a laser, every individual bullet in the laser gives points.
Oh, glorious day. Oh, I love that.
And I don't do it here because I was playing a lot safer, but you'll notice that if I do this again and I slow down, we're going to turn down the playback speed. I turned that down a little bit too much. There we go. So watch the laser as it appears. We're on a slower playback speed. And then I'm going to break, and it's going to delete all the bullets, but it's going to keep spawning bullets and deleting them. See, all those are appearing and just spawning points. Because the laser is just made out of bullets. We can skip forward a decent amount here. There's just a lot of enemies that we've seen already. You're trying to just get through here, keep your multiplier up, survive, importantly. And then these are interesting enemies here, these snakes. These seem to appear in every shmup, just like a big mechanical snake.
Yup.
Every segment here is destructible. The head is destructible, and the tail is destructible, which will just... the tail is over here currently, trust me. Destroying the head kills the entire thing. Destroying the tail drops 3 stars. But if you destroy the head and segments are alive, each segment drops a star. If you destroy the segments, it doesn't. So, but each segment fires bullets. So the optimal way to score here is you want to damage the head, but don't kill it. Then you want to kill the tail, damage the head. And then when it comes back on the screen, because these like to fly around off the screen, they circle around and then they'll come back down again. Then you want to let the segments all be on the screen, because like many shmups, you can only get points for things that are on the screen when they get destroyed. Then blow up the head and you'll get this huge stream of stars falling down that you want to catch. But doing that fills the screen with a lot of bullets and it's very dangerous.
But that's a lot of points that just came out, though.
Yeah. So then the rest of the stage is stuff we've seen already, so we're just going to skip forward a bit because we're taking longer than I expected. And we're moving on to Stage 3. Stage 3 is a much more traditional boss fight. It's just going to rain bullets at you. And you can dodge through those. It's just how comfortable are you with moving the ship. And then this pattern in particular, what it does is if you don't do enough damage to kill this quickly, it's going to fire a bunch of lasers like this outwards. And you've only really got these sections in between the lasers to dodge in. And then while you're dodging in those lasers, like in this kind of triangle section here, it's going to start sending out waves of bullets that you have to dodge. This kind of 2-1, 2-1, 2-1 pattern. So you have to kind of weave in between these bullets. Now, you can kill it before those appear, but again, there's a lot of lasers on the screen, and those lasers are all worth points when you kill the phase, because they all get deleted. This is an older replay where I was playing a lot more safe, so I kind of just speed kill it. But it's, again, if you want points, you can take it a little slower. Let it take its time getting on screen and farm all those lasers for points. Then, this boss is interesting, because it's just like a lotus flower. There's a bunch of leaves here that are rotating. And they kind of rotate around like that. Each one of these petals drops 3 stars. But there's another attack that's coming that's stronger for every leaf you have destroyed. Or for every petal you've destroyed.
When you say stronger, you mean it shoots more bullets?
So this pattern here, the lasers come out and they rotate around as well. So it makes you have to fly around the boss in a circle. And then these blue bullets that are coming outwards, these get bigger for every petal you've destroyed.
Oh,
That's an interesting way to do balance, though, on that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it.
dread it all around the world.
So right now those aren't very big. And we're kind of just flying around in a circle. And we kind of speed kill it instead of farming it for points. But if you really wanted to take it slow and blow up all the petals, the boss's pattern will rotate around again. And then the second time, those bullets are real big. They're chonky. You gotta try and dodge them. So that's stage 3. decent scoring stage. Not in this replay, though.
What felt that one?
And we've got another big popcorn section here. Nothing new. We got the return of these silver bullet ships, which, if you remember, they take reduced damage until they open up. So lets me get full locks on them to get this 25.6 going in this section, which is really nice. But if we speed forward a little bit, the interesting thing about this stage are these bomber enemies. They just look like a classic World War II bomber when they come in. And almost every section of these bombers, you see them? Almost every time they come on screen, these are wave enemies. And they spawn these huge waves of bullets that track you actively. So one of the things that a lot of enemies do is if you're over here currently and they start shooting, they will shoot their entire wave of bullets at where you were when they started firing. But with these enemies, if you move left while they're firing, they will shoot their bullets like this, and they track your movement. So you have to be really careful about how you move against these enemies, because if you just do a big shift to the right like that, you'll have a huge wave of bullets covering this entire section of the screen. Just this whole section will be bullets if you move too aggressively against these enemies. And that only leaves you like this little section here to dodge through. Then more of these bombers come on screen and they start firing down here in your only safe zone. So these enemies are extremely dangerous because you have to be very careful about how you're moving against them. But, big but, these are all wave enemies. So killing them quickly means more of them appear on screen, and each one of these drops a bunch of large stars. So you see there, I only got 2 waves of those bombers, but if you get them really quick, you can get a 3rd wave as well. And when you're killing them quickly, they don't fire much. So this is one of the rare instances where playing for score is actually safer, because you want to kill these enemies as fast as you can to make more of them appear for more points, and it also prevents them from completely filling your screen with bullets.
These sections are so tasty. I'm loving it.
Yeah. This is kind of a unique enemy that appears. There's not a whole lot special that goes on. It's not really a mid-boss. It's just kind of a large ship. And then this is the stage 2 mid-boss that they deleted and moved into this stage instead. And for doing that, they basically just made it fire a whole lot more bullets, made it more difficult, gave it more health. But again, it was originally a stage 2 mid-boss, so it's not super difficult, but it is more difficult than what's originally here in arcade mode, and I think it's a good fit, because you can see that these dodging patterns do get a little bit frantic. And then
this game is hitting on a lot of good brain chemical moments, just between the really high numbers and just the pretty colors all coming in at the same time, so I'm kind of mesmerized. Oh no.
So then this pattern is really fun, because they come in one at a time.
I remember about this game.
And what they all do is they pick another one of their buddies to shoot at. Like this. And then there's one over here. So you've only got this section in the middle to kill, but when you kill one, they adjust. So there's 6 right now, but then when you kill one, they'll shift so that they're shooting at 5 of them. And then when there's 4, then they'll be shooting like this. So you got a square, and then you get a triangle. And one of the interesting things is there's a lot of lasers on the screen. So remember how I said lasers are really tasty for scoring? And each one of these enemies likes to drop a lot of stars. But right now, as you see with this pattern and the pattern that's going to replace it, that's kind of a pentagon, if you kill an enemy out here in the corner, the stars are going to drop down here outside of your safe zone. So you either need to have a break to make them vacuum up towards you, or in that brief moment where the screen clears after you kill them, you need to quickly fly out, catch the stars, and then get back into the safe zone. So this is another huge risk-reward section. Not only just how many stars you want to pick up, but trying to time. So if you can, you want to kill them in the middle of the screen so they just drop straight down. But you also, every time you kill one, it clears the screen. Every time you break, it clears the screen. So you want to try and let them fill the screen with lasers before you kill each individual one, which can make it difficult to time it so they're dying in the top of the screen. So right there you see the one at the bottom is the one that died first, actually. So I had a break, and I was kind of waiting for it to recover something that I couldn't pick up. And the one at the bottom dies, so I immediately break for this double break that I've got charging up. And that vacuums up these stars down there at the bottom, kind of saves those. I don't think I played this super risky in this one, because again, this is kind of an old replay where I was playing a lot safer. But you can see how just sitting in the center and just using your lock shot and just shooting is really safe, but you can get more points if you play it really risky, because this mode encourages you to go after those gold stars. And oftentimes it places the gold stars in places that are really dangerous to try and pick up.
Yeah, I've seen a few of those float by right on the side of those questionable curtains.
Yeah.
I'm like, you would ask me to do such a thing? For real?
And this
It's
is a
so
good
evil
example.
because it's literally a shiny.
And it's a good example because this is one of my older replays. I was not playing nearly as risky here. So you can see I'm playing safer. I'm deciding to let a lot of these stars drop to the floor. So even though like this is me with good amount of time to this game at this point, I'm still choosing how difficult I want to make the experience for myself. And I think that's one of the big things that a lot of people don't notice unless I sit here and I really talk you through every decision that I'm making. There's a lot of decisions that a person who doesn't know the game just goes, hey, this game looks hard. And they don't see whether you're either choosing to make the game even harder or choosing to make it easier. So this is what I kind of showed you earlier when we talked about layering. This boss in the original version, we're going to just skip past this this phase. What it does is it's this weapons platform, and there's drones that fly in and drop one of a couple different types of turrets on these little sections here. And if you look really close, you can see there's the two little sockets in the middle. It's like they clearly designed it to make it look like a drone part can fly and land there and start shooting at you. And every time you kill a turret, it completely clears the screen, gives you 3 stars. But in the original mode, it would endlessly bring in more turrets, just killing the left one or the right one. In a range, you have to kill both turrets before it restocks them both. So what it means is instead of just camping out here, shooting into the top left corner repeatedly just to farm points, you have to cross back and forth across the screen repeatedly to farm the turrets for points. Which means you're having to put yourself in a whole lot more danger from all the bullets that are coming down from the boss, and also the different types of turrets. So let's try and show off the 4 different types of turrets. So right here, those were both the same type of turret. They just shoot like waves of bullets outwards like this. They're not too threatening. There is a Gatling turret, and there's a laser turret right here. It shoots just 2 lasers outwards. This is more of the waves of bullets one. That was the Gatling turret, which you didn't really see very long. But you see it's got this kind of minigun barrel here. It'll just shoot a stream of bullets that tracks you like the bombers do. So those are kind of dangerous. Oh no, these ones don't track you. They just shoot. They pick a direction and they shoot. And then the type of turret that spawns the most bullets is actually the most dangerous. We can see it show up here. You can see there's a little bit of randomness on which turrets appear. Is this one here? Didn't pause in time. This one spawns the bullets just like the bombers do. So this one here, if I could highlight it correctly, that'd be great. This one here, it shoots these huge waves of bullets that track you like the bombers do. It's the most dangerous one here, but it spawns the most bullets and therefore is technically worth the most points. So in arrange mode, you have to be crossing back and forth constantly to take out both turrets and to catch the stars. But if you play it safe and you just sit in the bottom of the screen killing the turrets and you don't do much damage to the boss, it's going to time out before the phase happens and it's going to cut your break rate significantly. So instead, if you're playing more dangerously and you point blank the boss, you're able to build up some double breaks, get more points, but you have to play a lot more dangerously to do that. So this is another big risk reward section. You have to pay attention to which turrets appear, dodging the bullets, picking up the stars, hitting your brakes, charging up the double brake if you really want to be dangerous and be flying right up next to the boss is a really, really difficult section. And because of how difficult it is, it's the highest scoring section in the game. Because of course it is.
Naturally.
This wasn't a very good run, but you can be at 80,000 break rate at this point. And the number one replay finishes this stage with around 12 trillion points.
Oh my goodness.
So currently I'm just under 4. Because of the way that the multiplicative scoring system in this game works, playing this stage almost completely perfectly gets you triple the points that I get on this replay.
Oh, glorious day. Oh.
And the other thing to point out is I don't think you can see it on screen because I have it cropped, but the progress bar at the end of stage 4 on this video that I have loaded is a little bit past half. So I think we've done a lot of introductions on this earlier stuff. This pattern is just interesting thing to note here on this next stage is it spawns a bunch of the mines from those cargo cars. But if you fly up here and you point blank the mines, they don't spawn the bullets when you kill them. The other thing is I think this is the only time in this replay that I use the alternate lock-on type, which is a circle. And what that does is it will only lock on to objects that are in the circle, but in exchange, the lock-on speed is much, much faster. And it's really useful on this boss because you want to use it to lock onto the turrets on the side and not lock onto the boss. But when you go into this section here, when it starts spawning all these mines and all these bullets, if you fly up really close to the boss and point blank these mines, they don't spawn bullets. But that's dangerous. So then we get into stage 5, which is just the longest. It's a huge marathon and it has callbacks to the rest of the game constantly. All of the bosses we've seen, you're going to see bosses appearing as regular enemies throughout this stage.
The Capcom boss rush section.
Yeah, but in shmup format. So you remember these ships from before? How I said they come back later and they start just spraying bullets at you? Now they show up and they have a completely different firing pattern, but they're so much faster and their bullets just zoom. Like look at this.
Whoa. Oh.
They drop in on the screen aggressively on you and just absolutely try to kill you.
Really? I feel like I'm playing an entirely different type of shmup looking at it. Oh boy.
And then they come in here, kind of the same ship but with different turrets. Come in here. And they're shooting similarly how they did in earlier stages. Shooting those purple lasers that track you and the blue lasers that go straight down. And this whole section has just got a bunch of these laser turrets. Killing the turret kills the laser, and that's really important because coming up this section, there's so many of them that if you're not killing the turrets, you're going to get trapped. Plus, there's these huge tanks. Just this whole section is just filled with nonsense. You have to have a good route moving through here, where you want to be, how to avoid the bullets, and also when you want to kill the big enemies to do a screen clear. Then these enemies, these are like an upgrade of the bomber enemies. They appear in this stage only, and they're just like a bigger version, and what they do is they fire 2 streams of missiles. And you don't see many missiles in this game, but what missiles do is you can shoot them and get points. And in particular here, 2 of these ships are going to fly in. But if you kill this first one that appears very quickly, a third one appears to replace it.
Oh.
So ideally what you want to do is you want to be in high rank, which we're not right now. You want to have 25.6, which we don't have because we're not in high rank. You just want to pick up all the stars, kill this first ship, and then you just want to let them appear on screen and just shoot the missiles.
Oh. Those are the numbers I like to see.
Then we get the classic random story. Doesn't make any sense. This is a number of messages. Which message you appear is kind of random, but it's also signed by you. It pulls your name from Steam. And one of the fun things is when you're playing, you get a different set of messages than if you're watching the replay.
Oh.
And it kind of implies some time travel nonsense, not quite like Dodonpachi stuff going on, but just
we'll get there.
A little bit of tidbits of lore. This is just a really difficult section, bringing back a bunch of enemies that you've seen. You're trying to string together how best to score here. And then we've got this boss here. And remember I said shooting missiles gives you points?
Oh. Oh, Lord.
All missiles all the time. Oops, all missiles.
This boss starts off a little bit simpler, shooting these patterns at you. If you're in high rank, you also get some lasers, which I think is about to go into high rank. But then it starts shooting these huge stream of missiles. But if you don't shoot a missile, it spawns these bullets from the bottom of the screen when they hit the bottom of the screen. If you do shoot a missile, then the missile spawns bullets coming from where you destroyed it downwards.
Ooh,
so
that's
these
mean.
Ones.
Oh, that's rude.
So you're getting bullets either way.
Yes. So you kind of want to be controlling where the bullets are coming from, how many you're spawning on the screen. But the ones that come from the screen, if you want to play safe, they've got some gravity to them, so they'll only fly up about this high before then they arc downwards and fall again. So if you want to play this boss completely safely, you just move up here and you camp over the boss. Because I haven't talked about this much. This is a grounded enemy. It's a tank. Grounded enemies, you can fly over them. So you see I'm above the tank right now. It doesn't have a hitbox because I'm flying above it. If it's a flying enemy and you fly into it, it's just going to blow you up. So again, this boss, even though it's ridiculous and extremely difficult if you're playing for score, you can just play it very safe and camp the top of the screen. Then, you know how I said, spawning waves of enemies is really important for scoring? What if they did that to you with a boss? 'Cause this is stage 5. After the mid-boss, it completely resets your break rate. This is the longest stage in the game. It's almost 10 minutes all the way through. And when you beat that mid-boss, it's like, nope, you're back to 0. This stage is that long. And then, as you're flying up this elevator shaft, guess who appears below you? Except now, they're below you, and it's a lot more difficult to do damage to them because you're lock shots. But this is where the homing shot comes in, really useful. Because if I pause, you can see that my options are down here, shooting at the boss. So having homing here is really, really, really important if you're playing as Type 1. The other ships have different alternate option modes. Type 2, what they do is they kind of they swivel and shoot at things so they can shoot backwards that way. But you want to have your alternate firing mode here very importantly, because that's the only way you're going to kill this boss enough times to really farm the extra points. Because I killed this one pretty quickly. You'll see I didn't break because I wanted to go into shield mode, and then a second one appears. And if you route this out really well, if you've got high damage, you go in break mode, you can kill 3. I've never seen somebody kill 4. But you don't want to take too long because they only stop spawning about halfway up the shaft. And then you get those bombers with the missiles again. And these are a ton of points. So the idea is you want to kill some of the spiders, get some break rate, get going, have a high multiplier, and just farm these while you're getting up to the top. And now we're to the point where some of the community members like to call the hallway of hell.
Oh no.
So do you remember the stage 3 boss? What if we were in a hallway where there's just a stage 3 boss here, stage 3 boss here, stage 3 boss here, and then one in the center at the end.
This is a
So you just
comedy bit. What are you talking about?
You just have to go back and forth between them, and they're going to do the same attack from before where they shoot the lasers outwards and they start spinning. And then while that's going on, there's a huge number of Zako enemies coming down the side. And if you don't kill the Zako enemies, they're just going to be sending streams of bullets at you from the side. So this whole section is balancing, especially if you have homing. You can see that my homing options are kind of just flying around this area. Taking out the little popcorn enemies as they appear is super valuable. If you don't have homing, this is so much harder. And then this lotus flower opens up and starts shooting at us. And this is just the easiest place in the game where you're on a good run to completely beef it.
Oh, I can sense it already. This feels like the wheels in Toronpachi Daifukatsu.
Yeah.
You just get rolled by the lasers.
Similar energy,
Oh, no.
yeah.
I can sense it on my third eye already. I can see myself running into a laser right now.
And you can see how there's just so many bullets on screen. You're tap dodging, like I explained earlier, and you're just running out of screen real estate. So if you don't get a screen clear, you either have to dodge back through the bullets on a really tight dodge, or just wait out until your break ends. So I'm moving forward. I'm going, oh god, please, break ends. It clears all the bullets and it saves me.
You just hit the restream. It's easy.
But the main thing there is that's one of those bullet patterns that punishes you for moving too quickly. You have to use your screen real estate wisely. You want to be dodging slowly the minimum amount you can. And now, we're on the final boss, and there's 6 minutes left on this VOD.
Oh, yeah. Tell me there's a secret true last boss. Tell me.
So to give context, all of Stage 5, with all of the bosses, is almost as long as the first 4 stages. The final section here with all of the final boss stages is almost as long as the first 3 stages.
I expect nothing less out of a cave homage.
Yeah, so we've mentioned a few times, but this was made by just a single person. It was originally a doujin, a fan, like, indie published game by someone who really loved cave shooters. Cave is one of the most prolific arcade shmup bullet hell producers. And they have a certain design sensibility, and you can see some of that in this game, but the designer of this also did a lot of unique things, including there's no bullet slowdown. So even on the final boss here, bullets appear, they're at the speed they're going to keep going. The screen may completely fill with bullets, but they're not going to slow down. That's a completely different attitude on how you have to deal with bullets. So a lot of this, and especially in arrange mode, is you want to try and get through here, and you want to route your brakes to help you with situations, because this pattern sucks. I hate this pattern.
Oh, I see these walls. Oh, that's rude. That's mean.
But anytime you take a death here, you drop out of high rank, and you get the easier pattern. But if you I'm just going to pause here. And look, I die here, and we lose about half the rank meter when I die. In earlier stages, it took the first stage and almost 3/4 for this meter to fill naturally by just filling up over time. This is half full. Just watch this meter in the top right and how quickly it fills compared to the beginning of the game. It's just going up.
Oh.
Nice little chunks of progress really quickly.
And then I picked up the homing upgrade there, because I picked up the option upgrade because I wanted my full firepower back, and it gave me a big chunk. Because having more options makes this go up as well. So now it's going to increase even faster. So this is a boss where if you take, especially in arrange mode, if you take too long and you just kill it slowly, you're just going to keep getting pushed back into high rank, back into high rank, back into high rank. So even when you're learning this game, if you're starting out, you do want to figure out how to kill it quickly, because killing it quicker is safer. And I love this attack pattern so much. Just, there is no in-universe explanation on what this boss is bouncing off of right now.
They said that shmups couldn't be ballin'.
It slams against the bottom of the screen and tries to crush you, and I love the energy here. It's like, playing fair? No. I'm gonna smash you. And it alternates high and low bounces, so you kind of have to get a pattern. Whenever it does a low bounce, it's gonna follow it with a big bounce. You want to try and make sure you don't try to go under it right as it does a low bounce, because then it'll just smash you. So then, you beat the boss, and hey, that fighter looks a little bit like us, but it's bigger. And every single... Sorry, go ahead.
We're so back. It's real. The true last boss is here.
Well, every stage past this one of the bouncing ball will only appear if you have not used a continue up to this point. And they were meaner than Cave, because they'll give you a, you did it, but try again without a continue, and won't roll credits if you don't get to the final phase of this boss.
But this final phase also looks rough. Ooh.
So all of these patterns are pretty much the same between high rank and low rank, just there's more bullets on high rank and they're more aggressive. If you're in high rank with a fully powered ship and you're able to dodge through this, you can actually kill this boss before it finishes this attack pattern, which is really nice, because the one after it is not fun. Also, this one, if you watch what happens, it's kind of hard to track, is it's shooting bullets and they're kind of coming out in an arc, going out in an arc around the boss. And what happens is the first time a bullet hits the side of the screen, it will bounce off. So these ones that hit at a really extreme angle this way are going to bounce off and come across the middle of the screen again, and then they're going to fly off the screen. Some of them are going to hit like this and do that. Those are a lot less dangerous. But you have to be kind of keeping an eye out on them, because you have to be aware that some of these bullets are going to bounce back at you. It's really mean. But one of the interesting thing about this boss is that this is another Cave design moment, is a lot of true final bosses and shmups like to do a thing where when you are invulnerable, so is the boss. So when I reappear here, we both have a shield. And then if you watch, if I use lock shots, it's going to shoot lasers at the boss, and the boss is going to shoot lasers back and cancel my lock shots.
Oh, that's so real. That's so real.
But, big but, because this happens not only when you die, but when you use break, because you're invulnerable during transformations, remember, every time the boss cancels your shots, you get a boost on this meter. So, if you die or you break, and you really want to gremlin it up for the most points, you fly up into the boss's face right here, and you just start spamming lock shots as fast as you can at the boss, and it makes this ridiculous sound, like bam, 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 because it's canceling all your shots, and your meter skyrockets.
Bro, they're actually samurai sword clashing, and it's a shmup, and I'm so here for it.
But yeah, you hear that? You can kind of see it if I pause at the right time. Gotta die again, and then we're just gonna slow this down. So you see my blue lasers coming in, and then all of these lasers coming out to meet my blue lasers and cancel them.
It's a blink and you miss it moment.
Yeah. It's really hard to see if you don't know what's going on. But there's also a thing where, I don't do it in this run, but if you are, while you're invulnerable, completely overlapped on the boss, so if I'm flying up here and we both have a shield and I start spamming lock shots, the boss is going to try to cancel the bullets. It's going to give me the meter, and it's still going to do damage. But if you're still on top of the boss up here, when your shield wears off, you die. Just instantly, the moment you are no longer invulnerable, you're going to take a death. So that's the next level of playing dangerous for points.
Getting corked up, alright.
So then it starts doing this fun back and forth pattern.
Little Utaho Ryuji for the homies.
And then after this pattern, I'm pretty sure it loops. And then again, up to this point, if you have not used to continue, then you get the true final boss, part 2.
There we go. Oh no. Oh.
And this pattern is mean, because we're in high rank right now. So this bullet pattern, you see these lasers are really close together, and then these bullets come after it. You have very little time to kind of swing in between them here. And then this one just starts spraying bullets. This is a random bullet pattern, one of the few in this game, where it just starts filling the entire screen in a big cone of bullets. And you have to pay very close attention to where you're dodging, but it chases you with these really rapid downward fire shots. So you cannot take your time moving slowly to the left. You have to find your gap and just go right for it. High speed, dodging. You see a gap, you do not have time to slowly tap your way through it. You have to shoot full speed through it. Otherwise, these bullets that are chasing after it are going to completely trap you. And it's... You see the same thing here, just with smaller bullets and slightly slower speed on low rank. So this is the difference between high rank and low rank. Really good version here. Because same attack, just less bullets. The bullets are a little bit slower, and they're a little bit smaller on low rank. But it's still a really mean attack.
In color. Like, you have the green bullets and the white bullets and the red bullets, so you have a lot to look out for.
And this one is just... It tracks you with those lasers, and then it loops here. When there is no visible marker on the screen, but there is a second phase to this boss fight. It's kind of just a mean thing you have to know it's coming. And then at this point, this attack pattern comes at you really fast. And again, these are random bullets. So like each wave of bullets is shooting the same number of bullets outwards, but their distribution where they are on the circle around the boss is a little bit random. So there is always going to be a path through these bullets, but sometimes that path is really small. And when we're in high rank right now, it goes much faster, and the pattern is much more dense. So you've gotten to this far, maybe you only have a life or two left, and then you're dodging through this. And then when you take the death and you're back down in the low rank, it's just a little bit slower, a little bit less dense. And you remember how I said killing a boss with a full-on lock is very rewarding in this game? This final phase of the boss takes so long to fully explode that it's showering you with point items this entire time if you get the full lock shot. And that's really, really mean, because if you look, you have to be dodging this and then look up at the health bar and see if it's within lock kill range.
Oh, because you can't put the bar at the bottom like some shmups do, because they already have a bar at the bottom. Mm-hmm. Oh no!
You have to find a safe point in the middle of this pattern to look and see if you can kill the boss with a full lock shot. And that's Crimzon Clover.
Yes!
I love this game. It's so much fun. And I think a lot of why I love it is the stuff we talked about today. Like, there's, in game design terms, they call these levers. There's different levers you can pull to customize your experience. And one of the other things that I didn't really talk about in this game is that Crimzon Clover, as a game, if you play much safer and have a lower score, you'll see that some of these patterns here at the end of the game are actually a little bit friendlier. Because in the background, there's a difficulty adjustment, similar to like a Resident Evil game, where if you're scoring really high and playing really well, it's like, okay, you can take it, and it starts throwing more difficult patterns at you. So there's a certain amount where going for score, so you can get all of your available extra lives, is good. But if you crank your score too hard, then you're just making the game a lot harder.
So this game does have like a proper rank system in the background.
Yeah.
Oh dear. How does this? Is it just based on score?
In the other modes, it goes based on this number here. How high you crank up this number cranks up the difficulty, and there's a maximum difficulty you can hit. If you're scoring decently well, you're going to be hitting the maximum difficulty. But you'll notice the difference if you're interested in this game and you look up like 1cc survival clear. There's people who've uploaded examples of them intentionally not scoring highly, because it'll show how much easier the game is if you just try to play for survival. And it's just another way. There's so many difficulty levers that you can pull. You can customize your own experience. You can go for just, I want a 1cc hard game. That's my goal. And just play for survival, get the clear, and feel proud of yourself. Or you can become the score gremlin. Pet my bird while I talk about being a score gremlin. And make it even more difficult on yourself, or maybe more rewarding. And I really love that. We are a little short on time because I talked a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to showcase the practice mode and talk a little bit about practicing for shmup. So this practice mode is fantastic. I don't have all of these presets set, but you just have 9 different presets. You can change the stage that you're on, the game mode, which ship you have, how many lives, how many stars you have, which again, just that rank in the background, the power-up mode, all of the little multimeter things at the bottom are all, you can change what's set in this menu. So a lot of this looks overwhelming. There's so many options here. But if after you've played a bit and you kind of feel comfortable, these will make more sense. And if you just kind of change this to arcade, you see that it takes away some of those options because it doesn't have the multimeter anymore. So one of the things that I would like to say is that just like in speedruns, practicing the whole game is very important. What happened here? This should be 5 blocks. There we go. I think I changed the wrong thing earlier. So like I said earlier, stage 5 is almost half the duration of this game. It's a little bit under. So when you're getting into this and you're practicing and you're trying to get a good score, you're going for that 1cc, it's really important to remember that you don't want to just spend all of your time resetting on the first couple stages. Because if you haven't been, you're going to get here. This is half the game almost, and you don't have much practice. So making sure that you're going through and you're feeling comfortable on the bosses, as well as just some of the stages later in the game, is still important. But one of the things you can do is just like, if I just want to play, and I'm like, I haven't played in a while, I'm rusty. So what I would do is I'm going to not load up training mode on accident, is I would just... I'm gonna load up a replay to make this point better than playing. So if I'm playing, and I just, get to stage 3. And I'm making mistakes, and I'm beefing it really hard. I was like, wow, that was a good run, and then stage 3 threw it down the drain. Just take a note on that. You're like, I need to practice stage 3 more. And then you can go into your training mode, you can practice it, you can really figure out your routing, which is, again, like a speedrun, even like an RPG or a platformer, you have this specific plan on where you want to move on the screen. So if you're finding yourself having difficulty on a stage, what you want to go through is just like, okay, can I approach this from a different angle? Because all of these bullets are shooting at where I am on the screen. So if you're finding yourself getting trapped in the corner, and you go, okay, well then I need to make sure I'm at a different point in the screen at this part of the stage. So I don't know which stage, sorry, this is probably weird to look at while I'm fast forwarding, but I know one of these stages just didn't score very well. So we're just gonna find Yeah, this doesn't look like a good start to stage 3 so far. We kind of don't have a very high break rate. The other thing that's really important is when you're practicing in training mode for too long, you get used to playing in the ideal conditions. So like you're coming at a stage 5, you're practicing with your shield on, with your preferred like lock-on type, all this stuff. You're like, yeah, I'm feeling good. Stage 5 is great. But then you're playing stage 4, you finish the boss and you died. One of the things that happens, and I don't think I covered this, is if I bring back up the upgrades here, when you die in this game, every death decreases your speed by 1. If your options are maxed, you lose a level of options. So the most you'll drop on options from death is down here, but if you keep dying, you're going to keep losing your speed upgrades. And also, if you have a different sight or a different lock-on type, then it's going to revert back to the default when you die. So you don't want to practice every stage in a perfect condition constantly. You want to be playing through a whole stage. You want to load up and say, well, I need to practice recovery strats. So with recovery strats here, I took a death on stage 4. I don't have my perfect lock-on. Maybe my speed is down here. And like these are some levers you can pull because this is going to happen to you in a run where you come here and you don't have the setup you want.
I think we might have a little bit of a hiccup right now with the stream. So you might want to double check because we are still looking at the sight speed and homing screen.
Oh, yep. Sorry. That's me. I just need to turn that off real quick.
Nice.
That's my fault. I've been doing a good job of kind of not doing that this whole time. But like, so what I'm saying is like, you want to practice sometimes where you're not in ideal conditions. And in regular speedruns, that's kind of like just doing a no reset run. You need to practice recovery strats. So if I go through here, I'm like, I don't have a shield. I can't have the access of having a shield. Normally in stage 5, I want to have a homing upgrade, but I don't have homing here. So I want to practice with like not full speed, no shields, and not have homing and figure out like, how can I get through this, still play well, find an opportunity to use that homing upgrade, and still get through here without dying. And that's still very valuable, like in a shmup practice, as it is in speedrun. So I think what a lot of people think is they think is just not approachable at all. But what I often do when I'm starting a new shmup is you start the game, and especially one of the nice things about shmups is you can just credit feed. So let's go to arcade and let's go to unlimited. And this is absolutely going to destroy me because this is the screw you difficulty. But if I wanted to learn unlimited, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm just going to play. I'm going to keep hitting continue when I die because I want to be familiar with the stage layout. I want to be familiar with what's coming up next. Same thing with like if you're learning a Mega Man game, you want to know the jumps, where you need to go before you're really super optimizing all of your movement, your firing patterns. So you see unlimited mode, it's a lot.
Hey, yo, new Mushi just dropped. Why would you?
So unlimited mode is kind of a puzzle mode. I'm not going to get too deep into this, but the whole idea of unlimited mode is if you get a lock shot, instead of just giving you that multiplier, it'll also clear bullets around you based on how many lock shots you fired. Oh. So a full lock shot will almost give you a full screen clear.
It really is Mushi. Okay.
And then I got owned. Just keep playing. You want to be familiar with the game, what to expect, what's coming up next. You don't want to be worrying about being perfect at this start. And what you do with these early credit feeding clears is you're taking notes of what parts are absolutely destroying me. Which parts do I need to practice more? And then you can go into train mode, you can kind of practice those under ideal circumstances, kind of get comfortable, do a couple more playthroughs, credit feed, notice that you're getting better on stage 1, stage 3, etc. Just refine your practice. And all of this advice comes with a very large asterisk after it, because just like with speedrunning, different people learn in different ways. We were talking in the green room, and Rena likes to just play and just try to read the patterns and not do a ton of time in practice mode. But
yeah, it more lends towards like the games that I end up playing, which are really dynamic, and they usually end up not lending themselves to super solid routing in the first place. So usually I'm just like, alright, we'll run it, we'll see what happens, and I'll usually pick out like a stage if I need to, but other than that, I like running it.
But like this kind of experience, this would be expected if you're picking up a hard shmup for the first time. You will die a lot, but this is part of the learning process.
It's part of vibes. I've credit fed through too many. Too many.
But it's like, people think this is something unique to shmups, but it's like, I mean, what do you think's gonna happen the first time you try to speedrun a Dark Souls game?
That's a pretty good way of looking at it.
Yeah, especially since, like, at least the way I see it, it just turned into shmup discussion with a group.
Yeah.
But
Well,
the way I see it is like,
you say it's a shmup discussion, but in reality, this can be explained to like most gaming in general. It's the kind of thing where I get a lot of frustration from people who try to gatekeep certain types of gaming, and no, people should be allowed to play whatever game they want the way they want.
yeah,
So a game like this that gives you all those levers is fantastic in my opinion.
yeah. The way I see it is like people expect shmups to be like really intuitive because like they played Galaga one time.
Yeah, I mean, there are very difficult shmups and there are easier shmups. Like, you can also, there's also like game selection is a big thing.
Yeah, people are, I guess, going with the notion that they already have the skill set to do shmup things. When, like, no, it's a completely different genre, I'm sorry. It's got its own conventions and stuff. So a lot of the difficulty can also just come from, like, learning, like, essentially, like, how to play a new genre of game, basically.
Yeah,
so don't get too discouraged.
There are, like, things you can learn. Like, if you get hard stuck on one game, and you have another shmup that you like, you can just load that up for a while. Or, like what I'm doing right now, you can load up a different mode. Because playing the game, even if it's not the game that you've been used to playing, and just like getting practice reading bullet patterns, moving, controlling your ship, one of the big problems you're gonna have once you move past the beginner level of like learning a shmup is I saw where I needed to go, but I didn't move my ship well enough to get through that tiny gap. So one of the big things to help get past that is sometimes you're gonna hit a wall. You're gonna find a part that's difficult. It's gonna be frustrating. It's gonna be annoying. But just playing the game more, even if it's a different version or even a very similar game, is still worthwhile practice. Because you're still refining that skill, you know?
Yeah, even if you're not getting better at the game, you're getting better at shmups, and the skill set does transfer, trust me.
So this is our range unlimited, which is very, very different. Unless you shoot the bullets to clear them.
Oh, that's sick.
But it gives you those bullet patterns from unlimited when you're in high rank.
How very anime.
But this is a perfectly worthwhile way of practicing. Even if you're not trying to clear like unlimited mode, or just like go over here, and boost mode is a separate mode that's very different. You can load up like boost. Like, I want to do something else, but I still want to play Crimzon Clover. I'm really frustrated. I keep dying on stage 4. It's blowing me up. I'm just going to load up boost mode. We're going to chill out and boost. You know, you're still practicing. You're still refining that skill. I think one of the biggest barriers that people have to shmups is the mental barrier. They just convince themselves they will never be good enough to play these games. And I view it very similar to art, in that there are people with physical limitations, and that can make it very difficult on you. But if you're not running into a physical limitation, people underestimate the actual hundreds or thousands of hours that people have put into practicing these skills and becoming very good at them. So if you really want to play a game and it feels like it's too hard, and this doesn't have to be shmup, this could be like, you know, Dark Souls or other traditionally hard like Ninja Gaiden games, just put in the time. If you really want to do it but you feel like you're never going to get there, just give it a try. You can surprise yourself. But mentality is a big part of it.
And I think we're already over our time slot, so I think that's probably a good place to stop there. I just want to encourage people, if you want to get into shmups, try it. There's also like different types of shmups. Like we were talking about this before, like Rena likes different games than I do. Mushi was another one that was mentioned earlier, but that's a very much just very precision dodging, stay alive without many other mechanics to juggle. And I like games like this, Death Smiles, Dodonpachi, Resurrection, games that have like hyper meters and resource management and other things to think about. And there's a lot of really passionate people about shmups, so if you've ever been interested in looking at shmups, just like, you know, ask around. What type of game do you enjoy? And people help you find it. I know Soul, who's restreaming right now. Hi Soul, you're doing great,
Hi,
I love you. Soul apparently got challenged to clear a specific Toho game. And
Nice.
is going to be working on that at some point in the future. And it's
Oh,
like,
I love to see it.
if Soul decides that Toho game isn't her jam, there's nothing wrong with, you know, maybe I'll play something else. You know?
Yeah, I mean, we've been talking about bullet hells for like a hot minute. That's like one subgenre. There's more. There's more somehow. I am completely unfamiliar with like 2/3 of the scene that's like way over somewhere else, over in Toa Plant Land. I can't do those shmups. I don't know how people do it. Or the Maniac shooters? I know the Maniac shooter people are crazy too. I'm so jealous.
But that was the big reason why I wanted to do this showcase, is I kind of wanted to break down this game in particular. I love this game, which is reason number one. But this game has got so much going on screen. It looks ridiculous. And I just wanted to go through and talk through this game and just break it down and show it's easier than you think it is. So like, don't hold yourself back. If it's something you want to do, take a shot at it. And, you know, just generally be kind to yourself. I've been Raelcun. Thanks everybody for hanging out. Rena, Alari, Soul for running the stream. Mina's been in chat the whole time. Thanks everybody. I hope you enjoyed some shmup talk while I got really into the weeds.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what the next Attract Mode showcase is, so I think that's a good time to bug Rena to let us know.
We'll see.
All right, everyone. We'll sign off, and we'll leave you with Rena for the outro. We'll see y'all later. Bye.
Thank you all for coming out and showing up for the shmups. We had quite a few people watching for quite a while. Thank you all so much for being here. It's not often I get to get this excited and passionate on stream. But I get to do it on a hosting job too. How exciting is that? So, in terms of some stuff, we have to go over some things before we go. We have an exciting place to go. First off, if you want to learn some new skills, team up with fellow staff members to make cool things, or help behind the scenes, we are looking for volunteers year-round. If you want to come join the club, we could always use some people. Right now, we are looking for people to get some clips, edit some videos, and some more tech people, because of course, we always need more tech people. It's, of course we all need... I mean, we all sat through that stream. There was like 2 tech issues. We always need more tech people, so please, if you may, type exclamation volunteer in chat, and you can get a link for the applications. Come say hi if you want. All that fun stuff. And of course, Attract Mode is still running, and if you want to show up for Attract Mode, you're gonna have to get in quick. Slots are filling up quick. We're very popular, as I'm sure you could tell. So if you want to come on in, you want to show something super cool, anything game related you love, you have to be a woman in gaming, come on over, submit as soon as possible. Use !AM in chat so you can go get that all going, all that fun stuff. And we'd love to see you here. We are always accepting new people, and the bigger the family grows, the better. Now, next time on Attract, we have a terrific first playthrough race. Apparently, I actually did not know about this prior. I'm very excited. Apparently, they'll be racing through a minute, a peculiar adventure game played 60 seconds at a time. I think I actually own this game. I think I own this game. I got it on, like... I think I got it on Epic for free, and I've never picked it up. Ooh, that's going to be exciting. I've seen some screenshots of the game. You are not going to want to miss that. They're playing through it blind? First playthrough race? Oh, that's going to be sick. You're definitely going to come on that. That's going to be 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Sunday to see who's going to take the crown on that one. And oh, I can only imagine. The chaos? I'm sure there will be plenty. 60 seconds of gameplay at a time? I can only imagine. The heartbreak. You'll have to be there to see it. With that all out of the way, though, that's going to be it for us. We're just about done. We're getting ready to raid out pretty much. So make sure you stick around for the raid. We love sharing the love around Twitch to our fellow friends and community. So make sure you stick around for that. And with that, I'm going to be out. I need to finish my pasta. It's been sitting here. I've been too invested in the conversation. Truly, such a shame. So I'm going to go do that. And I'll leave you all with that. Have a fantastic day today, and play shmups. Play shmups now. I'm part of the propaganda. Play them now.